You ever have that one uncle growing up? You know, the one who always had candy in his pockets, the one who would sit you down on his lap, caressing your hair, telling you how much he likes kids but was never able to have any of his own. The one who had an extensive Funko Pop collection and browsed Reddit all day on his computer with a lot of external hard drives. The one who turned out actually wasn't really your uncle and nobody in the family really knew who he was. And the last time you saw him, he was being loaded into the back of a police cruiser. Well, turns out the mythological world has an eerily similar story about such an uncle. One where the king is slain by a jealous younger brother, he takes over the throne only for the king's son to return and take his rightful place? What's that? You think you've already read this in high school? Probably. Nobody has ever been able to confirm it, but given the popularity of today's tale, not just in its native Egypt, but also in Europe long before Shakespeare became the first man to ever coin the term cuck, it's very likely, in my mind, that this was at least somewhat inspirational towards that story. And by extension, Lion King. The story centers around Horus, falcon-headed god of kingship, and Set, or as he was known by the Greeks, Seth, the... Actually, what the fuck is he supposed to be? The Set animal, as it has come to be known, is a bit of a mystery, as a lot of the anthropomorphic gods look relatively similar to a lot of the common animals from the region. You've got Sobek, Bastet, Taweret, Anubis, Ra. Fuck, you can even tell what Thoth is supposed to be without even really knowing what an ibis is. But this thing is, oddly unspecific. The academic consensus is that Set is supposed to be an aardvark. Yeah, I don't see it either. I personally put some stock into him being an okapi, mainly because okapis are cool. In any case, this is our antagonist. You'll see why I'm using air quotations here very soon. Our minor cast of characters include Osiris, the lord over the earth. Don't get too comfortable having him around. Nephthys, the sister wife of Set. Thoth, the smartest guy in this story, which is like saying that you're the fattest guy in a hospital room full of kids with leukemia. Ra and Shu, basically the judges of the whole affair alongside Thoth. And most important of the side characters... her name is Demonetization. So, our story begins literally at the beginning. Osiris, Set, Nephthys, and Isis were all the spawn of the creator gods Nut and Geb. However, since he was the eldest son, Osiris was slated to inherit the earth. Set didn't take too kindly to being relegated to a window licker forced to sit in the back of the bus, and so he hatched probably one of the dumbest plans ever to assassinate his brother. He built a wooden box, specifically to Osiris's dimensions, then held a party where the entertainment for that evening would be getting inside the box and seeing who fits best. Those absolute party animals. Naturally, Osiris fit inside perfectly and was declared the winner. His prize? Set closing a lid on him and sending him adrift down the Nile. Literally in front of everybody else. Not exactly subtle. Isis swam out to retrieve her brother-lover, but by the time she fished the box out, he had already drowned. But that's okay, this is ancient Egypt and bullshit pharaoh black magic could easily resurrect him. Had Set not taken a hacksaw to his corpse, chopped him up into little pieces, then scattered them all across the Egyptian countryside. Again, right in front of everyone. And they all just let this happen. Something tells me this guy wasn't very good at his job. In any case, Isis, and to her credit Nephthys, went out on the steel ball run looking for the corpse parts, finding everything shy of Osiris's right eye. I know there are several tellings of this story, and some say that it was his penis, and a couple of other things are contentious from here. I'm mainly just picking and choosing the best elements of each for a video. Fuck off. The two tie the composite corpse together, but without that last piece, they cannot fully revive him. They did, however, save the most important part. And from there, they watched that one scene from Clerks, decided it'd be fun to screw a dead guy, and then screwed a dead guy until his body fell apart again. What resulted from all of this was Isis becoming pregnant with Horus, the protagonist of this story, and Nephthys bearing that one god you all really want me to do a mythological character study on. Pay me and I'll release the hostage. Meanwhile, Set just kind of assumed the throne for himself, being the next in line to take it. That is, until Horus comes of age and appeals to the court of the gods. Again, I'm just going with these three in this telling. Fuck off. Stating that Set essentially just murdered someone right before their eyes, and for some reason everyone is just cool with it. To which Set argued,
"They say I have the most loyal people. Did you ever see that? Where I could stand in the middle of Fifth Avenue and shoot somebody and I wouldn't lose any voters, okay? It's like incredible."
Thoth and Shu sided with Horus, but Ra essentially called him a twink and said that he needed to prove his strength if he wanted to rule over Egypt. If you're wondering why this decision isn't being made by a typical democratic process, it's because Lloyd Austin hasn't carpet-bombed Egypt. Yet. So, with the court in deadlock, Set confidently challenges Horus to a test of strength. One which, if he were to succeed, would guarantee him the throne. Horus accepts this, and the two transform into hippos, taking things out onto the Nile River to resolve things once and for all, by seeing who can hold their breath underwater the longest. Yeah, I don't get it either. This is supposed to be a test of their strength, and they literally transformed themselves into one of the most homicidal animals in nature to effectively hold a contest which appeals to most kids at the public pool, minus the one who is suspiciously standing right in front of the filter. It's me, I was that kid. The two go under, but if you thought this was going to be a fair fight, you'd be Osiris wrong. Isis, the bitch, casts a harpoon into the water, attempting to skewer Set upon it and win Horus the competition. However, since they were both underwater and disguised as hippos, she hit Horus instead. Realizing her mistake, she pulled out the harpoon, then stabbed the other one, but by that point the gods had already called foul, and the competition was ruled a no contest. Horus, being supremely pissed off after getting stabbed by his own mother, wades out of the water and immediately lops Isis's head off.
Ironic.
He then takes her severed head and tosses it off the mountainside, but Thoth retrieves it and puts Isis back together like its name was Baghdadi. After this fiasco, the gods sat around to devise another plan to determine Osiris' successor, and while they were doing that, Horus decided to take a nap, wherein his uncle decided to gouge his eyes out and bury them into the sand, to which they sprouted lilies. Or were they marigolds?
I may not know my flowers, but I know a bitch when I see one!
Regardless, Horus had his severed body parts replaced by the gods, not for the last time in this story, funnily enough, and the two are ordered to play nice with each other by Ra. However, Set's idea of playing nice is to get his nephew shit-faced during a house party, and then attempt to rape him in his sleep. Now, homosexuality in ancient Egypt is a heavily disputed topic. Some point to some very fringe examples, ironically enough this is one of them, and say that the wider society was 100% okay with it, while others state that the few examples which are cited are easily explained away via some deeper examination of their religious processes. I think it's somewhere in the middle, kind of like ancient Greece. As much as I like to joke about the whole nation being pernicious, boy-chasing sodomites, in reality, it wasn't viewed anywhere near as favorably as your modern sociology teacher would have you believe.
Everyone is gay.
That isn't to say that all of the rumors surrounding it are true, and I'm taking the position that homosexuality just didn't exist. I'm merely saying the extent of it and the social acceptance of such a thing is heavily exaggerated. It's probably the same case in Egypt. They were heavily influenced by the Mesopotamians after all. Check out my Anon in the Underworld video to get a bit more info on how depraved some of these chucklefucks could get. What I do find particularly egregious are when the Twitter twits point to this as an example of the ancient Egypt glorifying homosexual relationships. Okay, totally ignoring the fact that this is literally rape, not at all what I would call smexy, and also excusing the fact that this is incest, Set had more malicious intentions with this. See, the thought process here is that if Uncle Set took the reins and made Horus his submissive and breedable femboy, it would be yet another showcase of his strength, and would simultaneously disqualify Horus from the succession war because the Egyptians were based as fuck and do not tolerate a trap for their pharaoh. However, Horus had just enough of his wits about him to put his hands right over his bussy and catch the rainbow as the Set was finishing. Then he books it out of the house and runs off to Isis, cupping his hands and holding out Set's splooge so that he may present it to her. Which is definitely information that you want to share with your mother. Isis, however, more than likely still pissed off over that whole decapitation incident, chops off Horus's hands and tosses them out with the baby water into the Nile. She then... Okay, let me just quote it here directly so that you all will believe me. Then got some fragrant ointment and applied it to Horus's phallus. She caused it to become stiff and inserted it into a pot. Believe it or not, this isn't actually the first time we've seen a god jerk off their son and then save their joke for later on this channel. The next morning, Isis sneaks into Set's vegetable garden and then gives his lettuce plants a healthy slathering of Horus's goo, to which he quickly cultivates and makes himself a nice Caesar salad with water chestnuts and nut. And now it's time for Life Lessons with Glycon.
Hey kids, it's your old pal Glycon! Did you know that spermicide contains over 200 different types of proteins, calciums, and minerals? So you see, sucking dick isn't gay, it's part of a healthy diet. Try it out with your friends, your neighbors, your teachers. Golly! I bet even your uncle, who is currently serving 15 to 25 years in a federal penitentiary, would appreciate it. Until next time, kids, always remember,
your eternal soul is mine.
And I love you.
Later on that afternoon, Set and Horus appear before the gods once again, this time with Set declaring his legitimacy as ruler because, quote, I have done a man's work against Horus. To which the falcon-headed god replied... Wait. How did this file get on my computer? To which Horus essentially says, bet. And so to prove who pegged who, Thoth summons their semen from their resting place. Which I guess he can just do that. Set's semen emerges from the Nile, and they are less upset with the fact that he seemingly lied about the whole ordeal, and more so with the fact that they all have to drink that water later. However, when Thoth attempts to summon the semen of Horus, Set gets a rumbly-tumbly before his forehead splits open and a golden sun disk emerges. To which Thoth seizes it and puts it on his own head as a hat. See? It's like soap. You have a pretty good idea of where it comes from, but if you don't think about it too much, you can use it with a clear conscience. Despite this contest having a pretty clear winner, Set throws a temper tantrum and demands one more trial. A race down the Nile River. In boats made out of stone. In a surprise to literally no one, Set immediately sinks to the bottom of the water as soon as he attempts this, and in an equal surprise to literally no one by this point, Horus decides to cheat and makes a boat out of cedar, which he just painted to look like it was made out of stone. A fact proven when Set transforms into a hippo once again and rams into the side of Horus's boat, sinking it. And further proving that neither of these dipshits should be allowed to set the terms for their competition. In fact, the other gods all got so tired of their bullshits, they just kinda left the throne vacant for the next 80 years. That is, until Thoth, now rocking that custard crown, decides, oh hey, Osiris is immortal, kinda, and now he's the IT guy of the whole underworld operating system. Did anybody ever bother to ask him who he wants to take his throne? Like I said, ladies and gentlemen, the smartest guy in the whole story. Congratulations, Thoth! You've been disqualified from the Special Olympics. Osiris predictably responded something to the effect of, are you all retarded? Set fucking murdered me! I'll take my necro-rape bastard son over that giraffe, zebra, horse thing any day. And so, Occam's razor was proven right once again, and Horus was formally declared the winner. Which, to his credit, Set took on the chin. Probably just as tired of all the bullshit as I am. However, technically, he still committed treason and tried to usurp the throne, So he was locked up in chains, to which Ra carted him off to his place for reasons. And they all lived happily yet heavily traumatized lives ever after. The end. Yeah, that's all good, but if you're like me, you're wondering what the fuck the Egyptians had against Set to make him out to be such a bad guy. Well, there's some history there. See, somewhere in the Second Intermediate period, there were these guys called the Hyksos, who came into town, fucked shit up, then took over Lower Egypt, which ironically is to the north, ruled for the next couple of decades, establishing the god they found most similar to their own patron deity, Hadad, to be the quote, god of foreigners. And wouldn't you know it, Set won the luck of the draw, effectively being strong-armed into being the state religion's patron deity up until the Hyksos were eventually kicked out around 1522 BC. By that point, attitudes towards tourists with weapons became quite a bit more sour, though Set continued to have quite the popular cults. But as years went on and Egypt got conquered by literally every single foreign empire who passed through their land, they decided to really start emphasizing the whole fratricide, attempted nepticide, understanding the fluid dynamics on par with a retarded snail. Oh, and that whole trying to rape your nephew thing, which, again, for some goddamn reason, there is an unnatural amount of porn of on the internet. You people need to get yourselves checked out. Thank you all so very much for watching today's video. I actually wasn't going to touch this topic initially, but then I realized the wiki page for the Contendings of Horus and Seth literally doesn't mention any of this. Cowards. And yeah, the porn thing is really disturbing to me too. Oh well, I guess I'll have to live with yet another rando on the internet calling me homophobic. Whatever shall I do? Hopefully you'll all like the video and subscribe if you haven't already to stay up to date with all of my future projects. Thanks again to all of these patron names over here who continue to fund my autism and addiction to oxycodone.
And until next time, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Messiahs and something and have the thing. Oh god.
In my room, I beat my cup, nutted in my sock, keeping that door locked, bitch, you better knock. When I beat my cup, when I beat my cup, in my room, I beat my cup, nutted in my sock, keeping that door locked, bitch, you better knock.